All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Malden School Committee meeting. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2026. The time is 6:00 p.m. Our next meeting will take place on Monday, June 1st at 6 p.m. So, as always, the agenda is as follows. We'll first pledge allegiance to our flag. We'll then have a moment of silence for our veterans. Our clerk will then take attendance to ensure that we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to gather here this evening, and then we'll get into this evening's agenda. So the first order of business will be the inter-district school choice hearing. From there, we're going to take out of order Safe Routes to School, sponsored by Mr. Piazza. After that, we'll go to the consent agenda, which has 3 items. First is the approval of the March 2nd, 2026 minutes, followed by the April 6th meeting minutes, and then finally the April 2026 warrants. After that, everyone, we'll go to public comment. There will be an opportunity for anyone here wishing to address the public. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record. Public comment will be open for 15 minutes. We provide each speaker with 3 minutes, and we'll let you know 10 seconds in advance of when you're at the 3 minutes. After that, we're going to hear from our school superintendent on 2 items. First is the draft strategic plan and next steps, and then competency determination mastery assessments. After that, we'll go to subcommittee reports and discussions. We'll hear from Ms. Rosyberg regarding the policy subcommittee, and to my left, to your right, Mr. Bernard regarding the technology subcommittee. After that, everyone, we'll go to motions and resolutions. The first one is the inter-district school choice. Ms. Spatafor will speak to that. We actually may take that up when we do the hearing first. After that, Ms. Rosyberg will have the next 3 items. One is around the policy on competency determination. The second one will be on funding proposals and applications, policy DD. And then finally, a review of the policy DGA, which is the authorized signatures. Then after that, we'll take up the item that we tabled last month, which is a resolution in support of a financial management review. That's being sponsored by Ms. Spatafor and Ms. Rosyberg. After that, we'll go to personal privilege. And then from there, we'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for 3 purposes. One is to take a look at the April 6th meeting minutes. The second one is to discuss an open meeting law complaint dated April 16th, 2026, filed by Bruce Friedman against the Malden School Committee. And then finally, another open meeting law complaint as follows. April 16th, 2026, filed by Bruce Friedman against the Malden School Committee. This is the executive session minutes from 12/5/2022. April 16, 2026, filed by Bruce Friedman against the Malden School Committee. Executive session minutes from February 6, 2023. And April 16, 2026, filed by Bruce Friedman against the Malden School Committee for the executive session minutes from April 3rd, 2023. We'll then come back out from executive session. We may act on any of those items or none of them, and then we will move adjournment until our next meeting, which again is Monday, June 1st at 6 p.m. Are there any questions from the team? Hearing none, let's do this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, this is a moment where I ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of all those who have fought for our country and continue to do so today. Thank you. All right, we'll now have our clerk take attendance.
Mayor Christensen?
Here.
Mr. Drummy?
Here.
Mr. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. Spatafora? Here. Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty? Here. Mr. Piazza?
Here.
Mr. Bernard?
Here.
Mr. Rose Nyberg? Superintendent Sippel?
Here. All right, so we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to come together. Let's take a look at this agenda. So the first item again is the inter-district school choice hearing. And I have to read the following notice, and then we'll get into it. Notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 76, Section 12B of the Massachusetts General Laws, that the Malden School Committee will conduct an inter-district school choice public hearing during the May 4th, 2026 school committee meeting being held at 6:00 p.m. in the Herbert L. Jackson Council Chamber Room 106, 215 Pleasant Street, Malden. Members of the public are welcome to attend in person. Members of the public who wish to attend remotely can do so using the following information. And there's a Microsoft Teams link. All right, now that that's been read, anybody here wishing to speak for inter-district school choice hearing? Anybody here for that specific agenda item? Okay, hearing none. Anybody here in opposition for that agenda item? All right, we'll close that portion of the hearing. What say the committee? Let's see, any lights? Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So every year, we take this vote up, and I am especially appreciative of our superintendent. He provided the committee with a memo in regards to the inter-district school choice and the amount of available seats if we did decide to go this route, just a lot more information than we may have received in the past. So I just want to say thank you for that. In looking at the numbers, I will say I am intrigued to potentially be an inter-district school choice district based on the requirement that we could set it for a certain school or a certain even down to the grade. And in looking at the high school, right now, the enrollment between May 1st, 2026 and May 2nd, 2025 is a difference of almost 300 less students in the district, but specifically 121 less at the high school. And based on the superintendent's memo that he provided, we could potentially take in 35 students at the high school. Kind of trying to think outside of the box. This group has struggled at times with students maybe moving out of Malden, especially in their junior year, that they would miss out on graduating with kids that they've gone to school with. If we did entertain this at the high school level, that would allow for us to potentially keep juniors, even sophomores that could be moving. Their sending district would then pay us, and they could graduate with their peers. I think it's something worth looking at. The cost for a small amount of kids we wouldn't be necessarily hiring teachers. They would just be dropping into the already established classrooms. And if we did take the superintendent's, I don't want to call it a recommendation, but the numbers he provided, if we opened it up to the full high school, recommendation of 35 students, that would be $175,000 brought in to educate those students.
Okay, other thoughts? I'm going to come to you next, Mr. Piazza. I first want to hear from our school superintendent. Is this something you're recommending?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I tried to play it very neutral in my memo, just to provide the facts. And the estimates in terms of the number of seats, as I indicated in the memo, also was conservative. There could be, over the summer, the situation where there's more space than we anticipate. But I felt that these projections were conservative enough that indeed, if the committee were to vote to have the district participate in school choice next year, that these would be amounts of students that we could sustain given how we're anticipating being staffed next year. And I guess I'll just say that I believe the typical way this would work in a district where there's a lot of demand would be that there would be 2 lotteries that would be conducted, one in the summer and then another in the fall. However, per what I've read from DESE, it could be students could be allowed to enroll at any time during the year, and then the tuition would be prorated for the amount of time that they're, I believe, in the district.
Mr. Piazza?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for the additional info. As Member Spatafora said, I'm also intrigued by this as an opportunity for our district. Even just to build on the arguments previously made, the numbers, it appears to be that the numbers for the K-8s also wouldn't necessitate the hiring of an additional or too many additional staff members. And so the argument made for the high school, I think, also applies to the K-8s as well. And similarly, you know, I talk to parents at the school that my kids go to at Salemwood who maybe will have to move out of district, but they really like the education that they're getting in Malden. They want to keep their kids with their friends. And so I've been in conversations recently about parents who feel conflicted by this. And so I love the option of having this available throughout all the grade levels. So I just want to kind of like second some of the points made by Ms. Spatafora, by Member Spatafora. I do have a few questions. For the calculation of capacity, my understanding is that there isn't a set formula that the state requires districts to use, right? This is up to each district in terms of how they calculate that. So I would just love to hear more information about how we approach that. I know you said that it was a conservative estimate to make sure, which makes sense, right? It makes sure that we can house students who decide to choice into our district. So that is one question that I have. I have 2 questions. Do you want to hear the second one or?
No, let's take that question first.
Okay.
So first of all, what we did was, again, a conservative estimate of what we anticipated the number of classrooms at each of the buildings and then the number of students that we currently have in-house that we anticipate going on. And then allowing for the fact that we may well have some move-ins into the district, taking a percentage of that difference, of that variance between the number of students that we have moving up and the number of seats we anticipate having in each of those grade levels.
Great, super helpful, appreciate that. And then my last question is more of a procedural one. Member Spatafora noted that we could open up by school, by grade level even. Will we be voting tonight on like opening it up writ large across the district and then we decide if we're narrowing it down to certain schools or grade levels, or are we voting on something more specific than that tonight?
So happy to defer to anyone else, but my understanding is if a district does not take any action, the school committee takes no action, then by default, we are participating in school choice like any other district that chooses not to withdraw in a given year. That is what Massachusetts general law says. That all districts are part of school choice and must accept students from other districts who want to come on an equal basis without discrimination, unless they hold a hearing and vote before June 1st each year not to participate.
Got it.
I just add one thing though, just an important note, and that is that if a student enrolls with us in 9th grade, then they have the option of staying with us until they graduate. If they enroll with us in 3rd grade, they have the option of staying with us until they graduate. And so given no one has a crystal ball to know what the the finances of the city, the district are going to look like in 5, 10 years. Depending on how popular this is, it could be a boon to our finances, or it could be, if the state doesn't adjust the funding for school choice, it could be something that becomes a challenge.
Got it.
All set. I want to go to Ms. Horty, and then we'll go over to Mr. Bernard, and then Ms. Rose Iberg.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I have firsthand experience with school choice. The district that I work in participates in the school choice program, and I'd like us to break it down on a little bit more of an actual day-to-day moment about what that actually looks like, because I think that it's quite appealing to say, this would be great because we would be reimbursed for students, people that want to be here that might have moved out of the community. But my understanding, you can fix my numbers, please, Dr. Sippel, is that we end up spending more money for students, but we are not reimbursed the full cost. We're only reimbursed a portion of like net school spending. So I want to make that clear. The other thing that we've talked about on this committee numerous times, and I think I've made a little bit of a stink about it, is attendance and tardy. So when we're talking about students coming in from different communities, we need to focus on the fact that if we are then opening up school choice, we are saying you can come to us from Somerville, you can come to us from Danvers. Fine. However, at this moment in time, we're still struggling with our tardy and attendance for our Malden Public School students. So I would hate then for our attendance teams, because we do have them at each school and they are working diligently on this, to add this extra piece into the mix. My understanding from school choice, Dr. Sippel, is that when you do open it wide like that, you can say we have X number of seats per class and things like that. My other concern is that as a district, our enrollment fluctuates pretty broadly, consistently. I worry that if we say, you know what, we've got 5 seats in 5th grade, let's just say, for instance, but then we also have 8 students move in that year, just because. So then what position are we putting our staff in? And how is that going to play out, even just with space within the classroom? How are we literally fitting all of the bodies in there? I think, I'm not 100% sure, I don't know the history on school choice, but I think it was designed for smaller communities that, you know, maybe had fluctuations in birth rates. So, you know, they might have a 3rd grade that has 60 children and a 2nd grade that has 27. So in order to sort of keep numbers where they are, they said, let's do school choice, you know, and which to me makes a lot of sense. But when I think about this and I know what this means for the actual practice in the day-to-day, it gives me pause to really consider if this is the right move that we want to take for our teachers and for our students already in the district.
Okay. Thank you. Over to Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple questions that kind of popped into my head, and it's possible that I just missed them when I was reading through. So if we vote to go and allow the school choice, is that reciprocal? Does that mean that people that live here could then go and decide that they want to go and send their kids off to other schools, and we would be on the hook for going and paying for that?
Please.
So actually, our students are already able to avail themselves of school choice to any district that is participating in the program. Our election to participate or not participate has no bearing or limitation on our students. And I indicated in the memo that 54 students in Malden, as of October, when this was actually, as of currently, 54 students are opting through school choice. They've enrolled in other local education agencies. 50 of them are in one of 2 Commonwealth virtual schools, and 4 of them are in other districts. Presumably, I don't know what their circumstances are.
Okay. My second question is just, if we have students that are coming into district that have sped needs, have we anticipated those costs? And what happens when we have someone from another town that, you know, we're trying to go and meet their needs, but for whatever reason, again, we kind of hit that thing that we've been hitting, which is we can't get a speech therapist because there are none available, or we have to go and pay out of pocket, or they require someone in their IEP, a service that we don't offer currently. And what is that going to? Have we thought about that as to costs and what's going on?
Yes, so by statute, the district of residence, for students that we serve in district who have individualized education program, we would, there's a provision where Malden Public Schools would incrementally charge the district of residence for services that we provide through special education. There is a requirement that a representative from that district be a part of, participate in the team process, because they would be owning at least a large portion of the cost for that. If the student were to qualify for an out-of-district placement, then just as we do through the circuit breaker mechanism that for our own students, we would calculate the cost of that placement, and the district in which the student resides would be 100% responsible for that cost. But it is an incremental calculation, and so there would be some cost to Malden Public Schools for the students that we serve in district.
Okay. And then just my third and final, unless I think of another one. Ms. Horty had mentioned, you know, having space for, if we have space for new residents. It kind of, and I'm glad that we brought that up, because that is something we know that we go and we have numbers that go and shift, you know, starting off in October. We don't have those numbers in September, and that's where we go and we get our, per the Chapter 70 stuff, that's where they go and they make that decision on what we get paid for the next year. So if all of a sudden we have a number of kids that go and move into district, or I would assume that would also work the same for school choice, that if someone says, November, I go to, you know, a school and I'm getting bullied, but Malden's got a great anti-bullying program, and I drive right by it to work, and I'd love to go and drop my kid off every morning. And having that sudden increase, I would think might go and be a little bit of an unexpected cost that we don't go and get that reimbursement for. I know it's not a lot of kids, but with our current financial struggles, it is something that I want to make sure that we've got in, kind of in the back of our heads as to, you know, whether we're going to do this or not. And I think I really just want to go and keep that kind of as a statement, rather than pose another question.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Good discussion. Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have not been able to access the policy, manual. I know that we have a policy about high school students who move out of district in their like junior, senior years, that they can apply to stay. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but we do have senior year, that we do have something in place for that. Do you have a question with, basically backing up what everybody has said, I'm curious if Ms. Mertz, if you know if this is sort of a sustainable program financially, or would we be taking a hit on that at some point? Does the sending district have any say in if the child is allowed, or is it just Massachusetts, so if you want to go, you can go?
Yeah, so those 54 students that are currently either at the virtual school or one of those other 4 districts, they did not need to ask permission from us. Yeah.
All right. Thinking of if you did it 1 year, and then backing up what everybody said, so school choice, so if we let people in 1 year and then we realize, oh, wait a minute, we can't the following year. Siblings, I was going to say, what about siblings? But we vote every year on it, so what what happens? If there's siblings, if there's that, and if it's a lottery, then how does it work for siblings? When they haven't entered school yet? I just don't know how it works.
Yes, so as far as students who, it is, the school committee needs to vote every year if it's choosing not to. However, if it opened it and was happy with the experience so far, it would not have to take action to keep it open, if that makes sense. There is a very strict rule in terms of non-discrimination that it's very explicit in Mass General Law with respect to school choice. For siblings, I would need to review the regulations. I think for a given admissions cycle, you could have a situation where, let's just say that we opened it at 3rd and 6th grade, and there were more applicants. The lottery only kicks in if you have more applicants than you have available seats. And if the 6th grader was admitted because they won the lottery, but the 3rd grader were not, I would just need to look into that. But generally speaking, there is a provision for if you don't have a lottery, or if you don't have a limited number of seats, or if you don't have fewer seats than you have interested applicants, then you would just admit everyone who applies.
The follow-up to it, in this, so if we did come before us and voted no, and there was, so we already have one student, and then siblings, so I guess it'd be up to the parents if we say, no, we're not going to participate going forward, then that student has to stay at their home district.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Rosario?
No, thank you.
All right. Let's see. Just if I might from the chair, and then we'll go to Mr. Piazza and Ms. Spatafora. Based on the number of questions, I can't support this. There's just too many unknowns, and we have no idea what's in front of us at the state level. If that income tax ballot question passes, it's lights out. So I think we just need to, bide our time, find out where everything lands before we entertain something like this. We are Malden. We need to take care of our own. I appreciate the opportunity to maybe raise revenue, but this isn't, from my vantage point, the area to do it, especially based on the questions that are being asked and the superintendent not being sure about some of the questions. It just, for me, it's not the right time. I don't know if it ever will be, but certainly not now with the way things are at the state and federal level. Let's go to Mr. Piazza and then over to Ms. Spatafora, and then we'll see if we can try to wrap this up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You can tell by my line of questioning, I'm leaning in favor of opening ourselves up to school choice. And so, what I might say might be moot based on what you had just shared. But I'm thinking about the demographics, right? That the demographics of the folks who are most likely to take advantage of this. And I think one group is a group of low-income residents. The cost of living in Malden is getting higher and higher, and the conversation that I alluded to earlier was from a parent who was recently served an eviction notice and really wants to stay in Malden, right? And so I think that allowing ourselves to be a school choice district allows ourselves to, in a way, to take care of our own, right? Because then it's a student who is here already, and we're saying you can stay here. And I think so that's one thought in favor. I also think probably the most likely, maybe another more likely demographic to take advantage of this are teachers who teach in Malden Public Schools but live in other towns. And in this case, those folks can enroll their own children in Malden Public Schools. They're coming here anyway for work. I absolutely hear the concerns about attendance and tardiness. And I would want the district, if we did vote in favor of this, I'd want the district to come up with plans for getting those kids to school on time. But in this case, for children of teachers, they'd be coming here already. And again, to the point about taking care of our own, these are teachers who are teaching in Malden Public Schools, and we're opening our doors and saying your children can come here as well.
Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I am hesitant at if we were considering opening it at the lower level right now, just because we are seeing a lot of issues when it comes to enrollment. We have a lot of requests in for students to transfer into schools that are closer, some overcrowding at some of our schools, so I am a bit hesitant at that level, and that's why I was I was interested more in the high school age bracket, just because specifically for me, it was seeing, somebody in their junior year of school, and they happen to have to move out of Malden, and now we can say, okay, you can now stay here. I know we do have a policy for senior year, but it does back it up just a little bit more. And could be, a trial for us that, they're only with us for a couple of years. We're not owning that student from kindergarten on. It limits the amount of seats that we do have open as a trial. And then if next year we say this really doesn't work for us, then we go back to voting no and move on from there. So I just wanted to, when it comes to siblings, it says under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 76, 12B, any sibling of a student currently attending school in the receiving district receives a preference to admission. So if it was, we don't have to take them, it's not like an automatic in, but they do have a preference if we had multiple seats open. And then just to the first question, it says when determining capacity for admission of school choice students by June 1st, school committees may specify the schools and the grades in which seats are available for non-resident students. So if we were to make a motion here, we could make it specific to what we were looking for.
Ms. Rose Iberg, and then we're going to wrap it, okay? Because I know we have members from the public here.
Just thinking it through, because we do have the policy for 12th graders, we could either look at school choice, or we could look at sending to policy, again, that to, right now we only have seniors, we could adapt our own policy without needing to go the school choice route and open that up to juniors who are moving out of the city, is one possibility. The same thing, you can always revisit. As you know, I love revisiting policy. We have a policy that does actually allow a certain number of seats to be filled by Malden employees already, that we can revisit those numbers. We had just instituted also that, because for some reason the preschool hadn't been included, so we had set a certain number of seats available. So again, could look at expanding that. So we might have existing policies that could be adapted. True.
Okay. All set?
Yep.
Okay, so what is the pleasure of the committee? We could table this. We have to do something before June 1st. So what's the pleasure of the committee? You have your light on again, Ms. Rose Iberg, or was that from previous?
Thank you. Knowing we need to take a vote, but also saying I would also make a motion to send this to policy, to really dig in and find out more of the information. Same thing, I just don't feel I have a lot of answers right now, that I'm a little bit timid of pushing it forward.
So this will require us to come back then before June 1st with a
No,
special
I
meeting?
mean, take the vote.
Oh,
I don't think that we'd have enough time to find out all the
Okay.
information before June 1st.
all right, Ms. okay, Ms. Spatafora?
I was just going to make a motion that we adopt being an inter-district school choice district for Malden High School with a limitation of, I think you put 35 on there. I'd like to be a little bit even more conservative and go with 20.
Okay, any questions, queries, qualms? Okay. Everybody understand the motion? And what did you say? Was you threw out 35 and then you went to 20? How'd you get?
I was rambling.
What number did you land on?
20.
Okay, 20, all right. Again, it's just my point, we're all, yeah. Let's, I think we're good with the debate. Everybody understands, right? Do you have a clarifying question? Because I really want to wrap this up if we can, all right? Ms. Horty?
I was under the impression that we couldn't preface that. Like, we would have to say, we are accepting school choice, and then we would have to say, we're only accepting this amount of students from these grades. Like, that they were two separate things, like, not a caveat.
Okay, Ms.
I'm not
Rose?
sure, but I just. I'm
Ms.
not
Rose
saying.
Iberg?
Clarification, we have the split for where the availability is from 9th through 12th, but just on an overall blanket 20 wouldn't specify how we would be taking them
Okay.
by grade.
All right, everyone. Do you want to add anything, Sue, before we take this vote?
Yeah, I mean, just, these are projections, and so if it were 20 for the entire high school, I mean, the projections were not so precise that they wouldn't be workable.
Okay, thank you, Soup. All right, motion's been made. It's been, who seconded it?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes. All right, let's have the clerk call the roll.
For clarification, this is a motion by Ms. Spatafora to adopt the inter-district school choice at Malden High with a limitation of 20 students, seconded by Mr. Bernard. I'll call the roll. Mr. Drummy? No. Ms. McCarthy? No. Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty?
No.
Mr. Piazza? Yes. Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rose Iberg? No. Mayor Christensen?
No.
It does not pass.
Okay, what was the vote?
5-3.
Okay, 5-3, that does not pass. Do you need anything else, Sue? Because I've got to get going on the rest of the agenda.
Just, I just want to be sure, I believe the committee's pleasure is to withdraw from school choice entirely for this coming year, and I'm not sure that we have something on the record to that
All
effect.
right, motion for that. Mr. Drummy, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions on that? So again, Ms. Hoy, do you have your light on? Yeah, I can wait. You sure? Okay. So this motion, you want to read it one more time, Madam Clerk?
My understanding is the motion is not to be an inter-district school choice district.
So you would vote yes if you don't want to participate. You vote no if you do. Mr. Drummy.
Sorry, say that one more time.
So if you vote yes, you're not participating. You're not for school choice. If you vote no, you're willing to do it. I know. All right, Madam Clerk, let's call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora?
No.
Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza? No. Mr. Bernard?
Given that we can revisit this in a year, yes.
Ms. Rose Iberg? Yes. Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries. All right, who decided to start with this agenda item, Madam Clerk? Was this yours truly? Sorry about that, everyone who's here for the other items on the agenda. All right, let's hold the consent agenda. Let's bring up Safe Routes to School. You have a brief presentation. Go ahead, Ms. Horty.
Sorry, can we motion to send this to policy?
Sure. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
So motion to send the inter-district school choice policy back to policy for review?
Sure. Seconded by Ms. Rose Iberg. All those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously.
Thanks.
All right, so you have a brief presentation, right? At the behest of Mr. Piazza.
Yes, Mr. Chair, brief
All right.
presentation. My name is Tina Hine. I am the outreach coordinator for the Massachusetts Safe Routes to School program for the City of Malden and also the Malden Public Schools. And I'll just check with the clerk that the slides are ready. All right, you could advance that slide, please, to the next one. We are a free federally funded program. So given the weight of the conversation tonight.
1 second.
Sure. Song and dance? I'll tell you what, while
it's not
that's pulling up, if I may approach the members, I have a
The
little
lift's
gift.
not down.
Oh, gotcha.
You gotta bring the projector down.
Something's happening.
Thank you.
That's why.
It's just, it's this. I will quickly start over again.
Please.
My name is Tina Hine. I am the Massachusetts Safe Routes to School Outreach Coordinator for the City of Malden and for the Malden Public Schools. I'm pleased to be with you here tonight to share how the Massachusetts Safe Routes to School program engages with students in the Malden Public Schools. Next slide, please. Again, we are a free, federally funded program offered to all schools that partner with the Massachusetts Safe Routes to School program. And I'm happy to say that in Malden, you've been partners since 2009, all of your schools, meaning 6,000 or so students in the Malden Public Schools, I hope I have that number even close to correct, have benefited from Massachusetts Safe Routes to School free programming, education, and grant funding for over 15 years. That is an amazing accomplishment. Next slide. Perfect. In recent years, Massachusetts Safe Routes to School has supported efforts to increase safety and physical activity for students here in Malden, as well as shifting more families to choosing walking and biking to school. However, I'm here tonight to learn how we as a program can better support, better assist the Malden Public Schools' goals moving forward. Next slide, please. Our program works best in collaboration with many stakeholders in the community. And here in Malden, there are great examples of that collaboration, which I'll share in a moment. And I'd just like to pause and turn to my right to recognize Ali Durak of Malden Safe Streets, who's been a tremendous advocate and support for us as a community stakeholder and her organization as well. So we work best when there's strong collaboration. Next slide, please. Our program works within a framework of 6 E's. They're up on the screen there: equity, encouragement, education, engagement, evaluation, and engineering. And when all 6 are in play in a community, that's where our impact is strongest, where we have the greatest positive change. Next slide, please. In terms of equity, and specific to school committees across the Commonwealth, is the adoption or amendment of transportation policies which promote active transportation. With that, and our multiple language offerings on flyers and surveys and other materials we provide for free, Massachusetts Safe Routes to School ensures that every child in a public school district here in Malden benefits from our program offerings. Next slide. A strong focus here in Malden has been around encouragement. Students across the district participate in walking school buses, walk and roll to school days, and submit their creations to the annual Massachusetts Safe Routes to School yard sign contest. This year's theme was no idling on school grounds, and I'm happy to say we got about 40 designs submitted by students at the Salem Woods School. Next slide. And one area where Malden takes the cake is crossing guard appreciation. Truly, you do this right here in Malden. Massachusetts Safe Routes to School has received hundreds of wonderful comments from families in the past few years, nominating many of your crossing guards for our annual Best of the Best awards. I'm happy to share just a few of those comments. I could not fit them all on a screen, and I would have taken much longer than the 8 to 10 minutes that I think I was allowed. I also put up there the image of Gina Hayes, who won Crossing Guard of the Year in 2025 for her outstanding work to keep your students safe and happy as they walk and roll to school. Again, you do it really well here in Malden. Next slide. Several times a year, Massachusetts Safe Routes to School, those are all check marks, not hazard signs. Several times a year, Massachusetts Safe Routes to School has encouragement days to both celebrate students already walking and biking to school and also encourage more students to join. Malden's been very active this year, and I know that this Wednesday we will see happy faces at all the schools as Malden joins other schools from across the state on Walk, Bike, and Roll to School Day. Perhaps Mayor Christensen may be spotted out there as he has in the past before. Next slide. One of the biggest impacts of the Massachusetts Safe Routes to School program is the DESE-approved pedestrian and bicycle education that we offer. Both teach students critical life skills and safety skills to navigate their environment, building confidence to walk and bike around Malden. This is an offering that Massachusetts Safe Route to School would prioritize moving forward with the Malden Public Schools. Next slide. And new this year, Massachusetts Safe Routes to School has worked closely with Mass DOT to incorporate e-bike safety in our curriculum. It's another example of where we as a program meet schools, school districts, communities, police, where they are. We are hearing a lot from around the state, from city councils, select boards, again, police departments, school committees, and school administrators wanting students to receive e-bike education, and we've, again, incorporated it into our curriculum, updating it this year. Next slide, please. Moving on to evaluation, Massachusetts Safe Routes to School can survey and assess different aspects of procedures, infrastructure, and behaviors around school grounds and offer recommendations that promote safety for all students, as well as promote active transportation. Malden Public Schools have used several of our tools recently, including family travel surveys, again, offered to families in multiple languages, so you get the highest level of engagement, participation at the Linden School and Salem Wood Schools this year. Next slide. The last program framework to mention are the Massachusetts Safe Routes to School grant programs, of which Malden has an application that was awarded this year for the Bike Rack Grant, and has another Malden application being reviewed by Mass DOT. And yes. Mayor Christensen, I won't spill the beans, but I think you've got some good news today. The Ferryway has a large infrastructure application that, as I wrote this morning, was being considered by Mass DOT, but perhaps there's an update to share later. Next slide. And the Linden School, again, received 2 bike racks through our Bike Rack Grant program. These are big accomplishments. These are competitive grants, and to have Malden receiving 2 in 1 year is quite an accomplishment. Next slide. So to sum it up, the Malden Public Schools have great engagement in our program, and I look forward to working with you, the school committee, to expand Malden's engagement, particularly if you're interested in including education and policy changes, although on all of the E's. We're here to support you. Next slide. As I wrap up, I thought I'd share a few of my favorite highlights from this year working with Malden students. It was a joy to be at Salem Wood School on the right there, helping students design their yard sign creations submitted into our contest. And I look forward to joining many more walking school buses like the one here at the Linden that's pictured on the left. And last slide. So as the school year comes to an end, as we close out this year, Massachusetts Safe Routes to School will continue to work with Malden Public Schools however you want, but up top of list for me is developing the Salem Wood walking school buses and getting that up and rolling, and then the Linden Bike Safety Assembly to fill out the grant application or grant requirements, as well as a mini bike rack grant celebration. So happy to take questions if you have any, but would end by thanking you for the time.
Other way around. Thank you. Very well done.
Pause for questions, or?
Yes. Questions from the team. Mr. Piazza.
Less of a question, just more of a thank you for making the time to come out today, and also for all the support that Mass DOT, that you yourself, Tina, provide to Malden through the Safe Routes to School program. For a district that does not have school buses, but does have neighborhood schools, Safe Routes to School makes so much sense for Malden. And so I'm thrilled to partner on the Walk to School events, especially the Walk Bike to Roll to School event on May 6th. And just by way of kind of like, sharing more information, celebrating the work that you do. It didn't fit in the presentation, but I just want to highlight, if we're able to bring up the slide, the last slide, we implemented a survey at Salem Wood School that got a 20% response rate from parents. It was implemented in multiple districts, and it mapped exactly where parents live and then their modes of transportation. And then Tina was so kind to then come to Malden. This was in between those major snowstorms, so I still don't know how you did this. To come to Malden and map out, you see an example of a map that Safe Routes to Schools provided to Malden that has timestamps and meetup locations for groups that want to walk to school together. And so this is the kind of resources that we as a district wouldn't have access to that Safe Routes to School can provide. And now that we have these maps, we can get parents together to walk to school together. It helps with attendance. It's a much more joyful way of getting to school than sitting in traffic and trying to find a parking spot. So thank you.
Thank you. Over to Ms. Horty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm just wondering how we can encourage our other K-8 schools to participate, especially in the walking school buses. And does it require, more outreach on their end? How can we help facilitate it so that these walking school buses are happening kind of everywhere?
Sure. The biggest issue is capacity on the part of the administrators. It's the lift. When I reach out to them to say, Massachusetts Safe Routes to School is here for you. So what we try to do best is collaborate with PTOs. So following this meeting, I will send out a round of emails to the school administrators and PTO contacts that I have. I don't have, what's the word I'm looking for, a magical Rolodex that gives me everybody's contact information. So some of it is just time accumulating and making connections. I have Ally Durack here who will help me as well. Do you want to say something real quick?
Well, for Ward 5, it's Carrie McDonald. They're leading yours, right? Forestdale's on May 6th.
Awesome. Thank you. Good to know.
So I'll follow up from tonight with an outreach email to all of the schools and the PTO contacts that I have.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank
Truly.
you.
All right, everyone. Now we're at public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the school committee. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record. Public comment is now open.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mohammed Abu Taha. I live at 190 Mountain Ave. I'm here respectfully to request that the committee adopt a policy of recognizing Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha as a no school day for Malden, beginning with the calendar year 2026-2027. Each year, a significant numbers of our Muslim community and Arabs that are absent from the holidays, from the schools because of these holidays, which impact attendance and instructions. This is fundamentally an attendance and planning issue. A standing policy would provide predictability for families and reduce the need to revisit this each year while aligning Malden with neighboring districts. I respectfully ask that this to be placed on the next agenda for consideration before the calendar is finalized. And I emailed all of you guys. You have my email. You can reach out to me and ask any question you want. I'm available. Thank you for your service and time.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the committee can do so now.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Ahmed Saeed. I live in 40 Cedar Street in Malden. I am also a member of the Muslim community that is 3,000 to 4,000 households in Malden and growing, and maybe over 1,200 students in Malden Public Schools. I myself have three in Malden Public Schools, 3 children, and that's one of them. And
oh yeah, I know him.
Good friend. Each year, many of our community members struggle with the holidays, taking the day off from school or celebrating our religious holidays. One of those holidays is a fasting. It comes at the end of a fasting month. And this kid right here, he's 12 now, but he's been fasting since 7 years old. And we train our children to fast at an early age. Maybe we start 2 hours, 3 hours a day, and until they are old enough to be able to hold 12-hour fasting. So it's a big thing for the kids. It's very important to celebrate them. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, around this time, I just found a picture of him and Mayor Christensen, because he got a new bicycle on that day for the celebration. And Mayor Christensen was trying it, and I don't know how they get together. So I have the picture actually right here on my phone. So we're really respectful. We really, to save us the struggle of having taking the kids out of school or celebrate the holidays, and it's part of the inclusion as well, so they don't feel that they're left out of. So I really would appreciate your consideration for that. These holidays are 2 holidays a year. Each holiday we celebrate 3 days, each one of them, but we only ask for 1 day, the first day of the holiday. And by the way, this the picture that I have, I just noticed, it was on a Sunday. So because these holidays come on a lunar calendar, they change around the year. They may come in the summer, so we don't really have to take any day. Or they may come on a Saturday or a Sunday. So the impact is not as big as it seems, you know, for those 2 days of, and they may fall out of school anyway. Appreciate your consideration.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody else? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Asim Al-Hamadi. I live in 39 Broadway, Unit 307, Ward 7, Keith Bernard. He's my representative. So I second the request. We need those holidays for our kids so we can celebrate with our kids without missing any curriculum during the day. There are only 2 days falling on the year. One of them fell on Friday, Eid al-Fitr, so we lost that. We have to take the kids as time off. So I second the request for the Hamad and Ahmad both. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. All right. Anybody else wishing to address the committee? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Adam Muda. I'm at 138 Pleasant Street, and I would just like to add my voice to the request of my respected community members to have holiday for Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. I just had my first child, so she's not yet in the schools. We can sort of take her out at will, but I think this is a really wonderful thing. I haven't been in the community very long, but in my short time, I have seen the impact of our community on the broader Malden. For an example, I play basketball at the Y, often with a lot of high school students, which I wouldn't advise to anybody here. It's quite taxing. And I found some of these students, they were repeating some Arabic slang that's often used by youth in the Muslim community. Wallahi, wallahi, you know, this is our ball. You know, don't let the turnover go to the other team. So, you know, that's an impact I never thought I would see in my lifetime among mixing and diversity. So I think it's a beautiful thing. If you think it's a beautiful thing, I think it's a wonderful thing to provide to our students to show that they are welcome in our community. If you don't think it's a beautiful thing, well, that's one less day that you have kids from our community mixing with kids outside of it. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the committee? Good evening.
My name is Robert Title, and I live at 33 Bowers Avenue. I wanted to give public comment today because I understand you will soon be considering a district AI policy. I work as a software engineer at a medium-sized tech company in Boston. My company is more AI forward than most, and I use AI coding tools such as Claude Code every day, as do many of my colleagues. These tools are designed to be incredibly easy to use, and they work amazingly well for some things. We can now outsource tasks to AI agents that would have previously required human creativity, collaboration, debate, and attention to detail. Using AI at work can feel like a superpower. Unfortunately, I have seen firsthand how it shortcuts the learning crucial for deeper understanding and for professional success. At my job, the rapid shift to widespread AI usage has left many people feeling detached. They feel less pride and ownership in their work because it isn't their work anymore. It is especially sad for people earlier in their careers who I believe are missing out on developing hard-won professional skills like critical thinking and communication skills that they will need in their careers. All to say, this informs my thinking on AI in education. I think that it is likely that the use of AI in professional settings will change rapidly in coming years, and it would be a better use of time to teach students basic and necessary skills like fundamental math and creative writing, rather than forcing the use of chatbots based on a guess about the future. My son is a 6th grader at the Linden School. Recently, he was showing me on Google Docs some stories he wrote for class. His stories are amazing. They are creative, funny, off the wall, as only a 12-year-old can be, and best of all, they are completely and utterly in his voice. As an experiment, I wanted to see what would happen if we used AI to refine some of his writing. So, with his permission, I copied one of his stories into my work Google account, which has Google Gemini enabled. We highlighted some text and had Gemini refine it. The resulting text was polished, generic, and completely erased of my son's unique voice. My favorite sentence of his, quote, "I do this every day in my gruesome life," end quote, was entirely deleted by Gemini in its edit. When I showed Gemini's version to my son, he said, "They took out the parts that make you think, and I don't feel like I wrote this." I'm sharing this story to highlight the risk of adopting AI learning assistants, such as Google Gemini and many others, not just professional risks, but risks to a child's confidence and sense of self. I'm so thankful that he does not have access to AI writing assistants at school, and I hope he will keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the school committee can do so now. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record. We have just a few more minutes, everyone. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I live at 481 Pleasant Street in Ward 3. I'm a parent of first graders at the BB school, and I'm speaking today because I want to share my concerns over a seeming lack of clear direction and intent in how technology has been deployed in our schools. I already had some apprehension with the screen as an always-on focal point in classrooms and the heavy use of Chromebooks at such a young age, but my discomfort has ramped up significantly over the course of this school year. Increasingly, when asking my kids about their school days, rather than hearing about time spent with friends, classroom lessons, or activities, they talk about their time playing computer games or watching YouTube. Two examples just from this past week that illustrate this are that in a classroom activity following the recent break, one of my kids listed that the thing he missed most about school was Prodigy, which is one of multiple game applications available on his Chromebook. This is in stark contrast to the same activity where he listed his favorite spring break memory as playing board games with his grandparents and brother. My other son, when heading out the door to school earlier this week with a forecast of rain, he expressed excitement over having more inside time to watch YouTube on one of his classmates' computers. We've reached out to school administration to try and understand the expectations for screen time during the day and rationale for direct student access to platforms like YouTube. The inability to get clear responses or policies back, combined with our conversations with our kids and sharing of our experiences with other parents, has made it clear that much of the deployment seems unguided, inconsistent, and without clear purpose in enhancing instruction or access to education. I'm concerned about the impact of this deployment without the explicit framework and clear empirically backed purpose. The quick hits of dopamine that these platforms deliver undermine the joy in discovery and curiosity and teach that boredom and frustration are things to be escaped. This not only does a disservice to our children in impairing the development of key life skills, but it also sets our schools up for greater challenges and costs in the future as students lack the proficiencies to access more rigorous curriculum. Hearing from my first graders about the ubiquity of videos shown throughout the day and the general availability of Chromebooks during unstructured times makes me wonder, what are the values that we are trying to give our children? School is not merely a place to gain book knowledge. It is a place where our children should feel safe and supported as they learn to work through things that are hard to navigate and the complex and nuanced social interactions that define our lives. The environment we create in our schools is a big part of normalizing for our children how we want them to move through the world. Are we telling them that we want them to fill every moment with a screen in lieu of personal connection, and that just a few more points or one more level in their game is more valuable than being present? There is a difference between digital literacy and surrendering the education and development of our children to screens. When used intentionally as a tool with purpose, technology enhances our lives
10 seconds.
and allows for things that would have once seemed impossible. I challenge all of us and this committee as our representatives to ensure that our schools are taking a thoughtful and intentional approach to technology that empowers our children to the heights we know they can achieve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have two left. We're going to go online, and I think we have my friend that's going to speak. We have one online. Let me do that, and then we'll come to you, and then we'll end with you, okay?
Amen. We have allowed your mic whenever you're ready.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening. My name is Iman Bouzian Saidi. I am one of the Special Education Parent Advisory Council Advisory Board member. I'm asking that CPAC to be included in the interview process for the upcoming Special Education Program Manager role. This position is centered on specially designed instructions, and our CPAC end of the year survey shared with this body tonight in December directly aligns with the district's tentative fiscal year 27 goal to strengthen instruction, especially for high-need students in substantially separate programs. I would also hope that this role reflects real collaboration between teaching and learning and special education, and also includes educators who are already doing this work really well at the BB and the high school. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, please. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Dangy at 19 Forest Court, part of Ward 5. Proud Forestdale parent of a second grader and rising kindergartner. And I would just like to echo my fellow neighbors' comments tonight with regards to unstructured and unnecessary use of tech and screen time in the schools. So far, I'm lacking as much experience as other neighbors with older students, but from what I have seen and hear on a weekly basis from my student is more and more experiences and stories of more screen time being added at snack times, indoor recess times, and other unstructured times in the day, which could be used for many, many other opportunities of growth, social emotional development, and education. So I would just like to ask consideration as we go forward into another school year upcoming for how nice it would be for teachers to have support going forward, possibly even policies, when thinking about these unstructured times. I can only imagine, and we're only hazard to guess, all the brain breaks everybody needs during the day, students and teachers alike. However, the use of such examples as perhaps ASMR videos at snack times, even for short periods of time, doesn't give anyone screen time brain break. Speaking to frustration tolerance or the use of boredom as a tool for growth could be highly, highly utilized in such times, even for short snack times. And if teachers had support and policies in place to look for help in such moments, I could see that as so very valuable. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Bring it in. Bring it home. This could make or break the policy if you speak. Come on up. Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
All right, your name and address for the record.
Abdul Latif, I live at 40 Cedar Street.
Okay. And tell us why you're here.
I'm just here to tell you that, we're the only city around here that we don't have a day off for Eid. We have about, around Massachusetts, there's about 5 or 10 cities that take the day off for just two of the holidays, which is Eid and the other Eid. And I think I would like to take it off too, just to not miss any work. So I don't, when I come back to school, everybody's on the same page.
Very good. Shukran. Masalama. All right, that's the end of public comment. We will look into this and we will circle back, okay? Just give us some time. All right, so that takes care of public comment. Let's take a look at this consent agenda, everyone. First up, March 2nd, school committee meeting minutes. Motion by Mr. Drummy, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions, everyone? Mrs. Spatafor, you have a question on these minutes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The March 2nd minutes do not reflect a letter that was emailed by Council President Linehan, who had technical issues during that public comment. That letter was circulated to the chair, myself, and the clerk on the day of the meeting and should be reflected with the other written public comments.
Sure. Anybody else? All right, so noted. Motion's been made. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Next up, April 6th. Motion by Mr. Drummy, seconded by Ms. Horty. Any questions on these minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, that carries unanimously. Next up, April 2026 warrants. Motion by Ms. Spatafora, seconded by Mr. Drummy. Everybody's had a chance to look those over. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, that carries unanimously. All right, everyone, now we're going to go to our superintendent for his report.
In just a moment.
Okay?
And we understood that last meeting we did have a technical difficulty with the slides, so we're hoping that everyone's able to see tonight. Great. Well, thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee, and members of the public who are here and watching online. Want to thank you for this opportunity to give this report. We are going to be focusing on two things tonight, the strategic plan and also sharing an update regarding our competency determination assessments. Both of these are examples of how we are living out our core values by including and collaborating, embracing growth, and doing right by all kids. The strategic plan that I'll be sharing with you at a high level tonight the priorities were established after the input of hundreds of educators and parents and caregivers and other members of the community over the course of my first 2 years here as superintendent, and collaboration with educators and leaders to articulate key activities that we're planning to enter into moving forward. We have a commitment to high expectations for all of our students, and a strong belief that our schools and community can deliver breakthrough learning and opportunity for all of them. And then lastly, as I always stress, we are committed to preparing all of our students to have the broadest set of options when they graduate. We don't believe that every student has to go to college or university, but every student should receive the preparation to make that decision for themselves. And lastly, we're committed to serving students with disabilities and those learning English, that they would have the same options as their peers. Tonight's, the strategic plan also, what I'm sharing tonight, relates to 3 of the goals that you approved for me back in the fall. One is the actual development of the strategic plan itself, along with preview of next steps. The district strategy for improvement, our learning goal for this coming year, for this year, and then also the goals for next year and the metrics that we'll be using to measure that. And then lastly, the special education program review, which of course you heard in detail about last time, but this is the first installment, if you will, of plans for adjustments to the program with related staffing and professional development in order to move on recommendations from that plan and chart our course forward. So with that, you may recall back in January that I presented an outline for the strategic plan with 5 priorities. And what you have before you tonight are some more defined proposed metrics, some more explicit strategies for each of the priorities, and then a vision of where we're going to be in 5 years. And then for each of the 5 priorities also, just sharing with you in this report a sample of the activities that we have identified as being critical for the first year, for next year rather, of this 5-year plan. This one, priority one, is by far the most important. And again, it relates to high expectations with support for students, to meet students with diverse needs. Every student, including students with disabilities and multilingual learner, must receive an inclusive instruction in every classroom, preparing them to meet or exceed grade level expectations and succeed in a wide variety of post-secondary options. This is framed in the present tense as what we want to be the case in 5 years' time. We had some discussion, if you recall, back in January about some potential metrics, and we heard from the committee an interest in not just one number, and also not just an achievement metric, but also growth and whether students were making growth towards those metrics, towards those outcomes. And so the proposed metrics that we're looking at are certainly MCAS, ELA, math, and science across grade levels. And we're very interested to see that we're hitting the targets that the state sets for us in each grade. We're also wanting to call out grades 5, 8, and 10 as what we're calling benchmark grades, which 3 years in and then 3 years beyond and then halfway through high school, whether students are indeed growing to a higher degree towards wherever they started, showing that they're growing at a very high rate. Generally speaking, the state looks for something called a student growth percentile of 60 or higher, meaning that they're well beyond their peers in other districts in terms of their growth. We also have, for grades 4, 8, and 10, English language arts and math, specifically for students with disabilities. And the reason for grades 4, 8, and 10, 4, 8, and 10 rather than 5, 8, and 10 is that these are the grade levels that the state uses for our annual local education agency determination of whether our students with disabilities are making the achievement gains that are expected. We want to see an increased percentage of multilingual learners achieving their individual targets on the annual access test that assesses their proficiency and progress towards proficiency in English. And then lastly, significant growth in our grade 1 DIBELS results, which is an annual literacy assessment actually that's given at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and the end of the year to make sure that our students are learning to read as they are all able to do. You'll notice that there are not specific targets for these, and we are proposing to wait and get our spring 2026 results for these various metrics. We just received this past week our access results, initial access results for our multilingual learners for 2026. And so we're anxious to dig into those as a baseline for what this plan would look like going forward and to have targets set for every year thereafter based on those results. And in the fall, we'll receive our results for these various state assessments in English language arts, math, and science across grade levels. And then we would set targets in line with the targets that DESE sets for us, as well as internal targets for the following 4 years after this year. These are the strategies that that again should sound very familiar because they are very, very consistent with what we've been working on for the last 2 years, providing all students with access to excellent core instruction using high-quality curriculum, ensuring instruction is effective for all students in all classrooms, confirming all students have access to intervention and supports that meet their needs, ensuring that students with disabilities also receive high-quality instruction, and then establishing high-quality interim assessments and assessment strategies that allow us to regularly monitor and improve student achievement. For next year, these are just examples. They're in the full draft plan. There are even more strategies, and I should say that even if something is not listed here as an activity, that doesn't mean that it's not happening. But I wanted to draw your attention to these in particular because they are very related to our special education program adjustments as well as our district strategy for improvement. We did a lot of work last year, and we've seen some results from designing student schedules to ensure that our students with disabilities and our multilingual learners have access to core instruction while also receiving the needed services that they require. And this is particularly true for all of our students with disabilities who are in the general education environment, which is the majority of them. For students with for professional development, another schedule innovation that you've heard a lot about this year, these PD blocks that provide educators with the opportunity to work with one another with facilitation by administration and coaches to really work together on evidence-based strategies to support their students. And we would see that as being something that would carry forward to next year. Again, those PD blocks include teachers of English as a second language, as well as students with disabilities. To focus instructional coaching to support effective inclusion of students with disabilities and multilingual learners. That infrastructure that we have and the consistency that we're building with our site administrators and our site building coaches working to support our teachers, next year, we'll see a focus on students with disabilities and the strategies that they need to make sure they're being able to access the content in their classrooms. Evaluating intervention strategies across schools and MTSS. These are very, very related. MTSS, these multi-tiered systems of support, involves having a system where we're monitoring students' growth and monitoring their achievement from month to month, from year to year, and making sure that in real time we're able to make adjustments to the program to give students access to the help that they need. And then lastly, to develop a coherent professional learning plan. This was something, it was specifically recommended by our special education program review. We want to make sure that students with disabilities, their instructors, the general educators, as well as the special educators, have the support of a coherent plan for the next several years. And in particular, we've heard concern or a need to give special attention to co-teaching. We have a lot of co-teaching that's happening both with ESL teachers as well as special educators. And in some cases, it's going really well. And in other cases, there's a need for attention to better clarify the roles of those people so that there's not one teacher that's more of a lieutenant or a junior role within the classroom, but they're both equal in their standing in the eyes of the students. So they don't know who the special educator is or the general educator is. I was in one of our classrooms today in an elementary classroom and saw a multilingual teacher working in a third grade classroom. And when I first walked in, it wasn't easy to say. That she had more students around her in her group than the regular general educator did, the classroom teacher, the homeroom teacher. And they were both very much engaged with the students. And I saw something similar in another classroom that was an actual education support professional who was there from pushing in with some students from a sub-separate classroom who was working with 2 or 3 students while the teacher was working with another group, and there were several other students working independently. And if I didn't know, if I hadn't asked the principal who was who, I wouldn't have known. And that kind of dynamic and that kind of partnership is something we want to see more and more of. And I think our teachers, they appreciate the support, they appreciate their colleagues being in the room with them, and they also want more guidance and more practice and more dialogue about how to make those partnerships more effective for students. I won't go into as much detail for all of the strategies, but this next strategy, this next priority is also important. Fair access to opportunity, that all students, sorry, I'm just going to move this out of the way. Try. Or not. Oh, over here, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Piazza, thank you. Thank you. Now we can all read. All Malden Public Schools systems, structures, and programs will ensure that rich and varied learning opportunities are accessible to every student, regardless of which school they attend, so that each of them is prepared to pursue the broadest possible range of post-secondary options. So here are the proposed metrics. One is an increased percentage of high school graduates across all student groups will meet mass core requirements with a minimum 3.0 grade point average. I know when we adopted the competency determination policy last year and again this year, there was concern that passing English 2, Math 2, US History 2, and I believe it was in the science, that merely passing that with a D, essentially, might not be the most rigorous expectation. And we certainly agree with that. And you'll see that there is on a future slide, or one of the strategies has to do with ensuring grading assessment practices support access to opportunity. But the Massachusetts State University system, UMass, and the state universities, generally speaking, they look to a 3.0 GPA. So it's not merely having mass core, not merely having 4 years of English and 4 years of math and the science required and the 2 years of world language and the 1 year of fine art, et cetera. It's also that they have taken those courses with a 3.0 GPA. And if we are just saying, celebrating that our students have met mass core by taking the courses that are required because they coincide with our graduation requirements, well, that's not really preparing them for the full range of opportunities that we want for them. And again, we're not saying that every student has to go to college or that that's the only thing that's worthy as far as a post-secondary goal. However, we have to ensure that every student has that option. And so that's where this metric of really measuring what percentage of our high school graduates across all student groups have that requirement is geared to address. Similarly, if those students are prepared, then we'll see a higher percentage of students across all student groups who actually matriculate to a 2 or 4 year college after 16 months after graduation. We had the rate for this in Malden Public Schools in 2015 was approximately 74%. And the rate for the class of 2023 or 2024, I think 2023, we have it for 16 months, was up 52%. And so there definitely has been a drop statewide from COVID. But the drop that we've experienced here in Malden has been greater than that of the state overall. And we want to definitely see over the next 5 years to see that rate of students who are going to a 2 or 4 year college, which is still a very, very, very important step and rite of passage for students to have wider opportunity in life, that we see that reflected in that data. We also, as you know, since almost the first day I got here, there's been concern about K-8 students having access to world language opportunities, performing arts, sports opportunities, particularly at the middle school level, across schools and student groups. So making sure that those opportunities are comparable across all of our schools, that we reduce disproportionality in advanced coursework at the high school, or a middle school honors pathway at middle school, and that we have establishment of effective use of technology plans informed by stakeholder input. I'm going to jump to activities in year one for these to move us towards these outcomes. We want to review engagement with families regarding the whole course recommendation and selection processes. I had the pleasure of being at Malden High School last week when Assistant Superintendent Pam McDonald and our Director of School Counseling, Erin Craven, met with a group of high school parents as they were beginning to think about the next step in their children's journey, their young people's journey. And it was clear in the audience that some parents had very, very clear understanding of what honors and college prep meant. And there were other folks who were like, can you repeat that? I'm not totally sure what that is, because those terms aren't used in our K-8 context. And we want to make sure that we really look at the engagement that we have with families to make sure they understand what those things mean. Reviewing performing arts and world language offerings across all of our schools and what that experience looks like. Look at participation criteria and programming models from peer districts for challenging opportunities for all students. Coherent guidance for the use of technology, including screen time across all of grade levels. And then, as you know, we've had an artificial intelligence and learning working group that Member Bernard has been the liaison from the committee for, and we're expecting some recommendations from that group in the next month. There are some things that will be informing ways that we can revise existing policy, and then potentially additional policies that might be needed if the committee believes that to be the case. So those would also be things that we'd be looking to accomplish in year one of the plan for fair access.
All right, we're going to stop there, Superintendent. I know you have another 3 priorities, plus we have to go over competency determination. So any questions on the first 2 priorities? Any questions on what you've heard so far? And then what we'll do is we'll go over the remaining 3 priorities. We'll take questions there. Competency determination, we'll take questions then, all right?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, let's start with Ms. Horty, and then we'll go to Mr. Piazza. So just so everyone knows, you can't ask questions again about the first 2 priorities after the presentation's over, right? This is it. All right, Ms. Horty, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple questions. This might be a little too specific today, but I just want to put them out there. For priority number 1, when we're discussing PD blocks for teachers, that, because, you know, there's only so many hours in the school day, I'm just making sure that we're within that accounting for the fact that there are times for co-teachers to plan as well. So PD for training versus time to plan. And we all know that gen education teachers and special education teachers often are not free at the same time, because when one group has the students, the other doesn't. So I had a question about that. Do you want me to keep asking the questions, or do you want to answer?
Do them one at a time.
So thank you for that question. And I would say that what we've been able to achieve at the high school is different from what we've been able to achieve thus far in our K-8s. And this is a circumstance where last year in the development of the master schedule, we were able to ensure that the teachers who were co-teaching, whether they be an ESL teacher and an English teacher, or an English, math, or science teacher with a special educator, that they had a duty period in common. Mm-hmm. And this was separate from the PD block, separate from their prep. So that time at the high school is time that we've created and we've protected. What we're looking to do going forward in the next year is to provide more facilitation and support to make sure that that they're getting as much out of it as we would like them to.
Okay.
And then at the K-8 level, I'd say that's where we're looking at ways to accomplish the same thing, but the schedule doesn't lend itself to in the same way.
Staying in priority number 1, my question is always the same. I'm a broken record. Intervention, math, intervention, and MTSS supports. You don't necessarily have the answer to this right now. If you do, that's great. I want to know more about what that's going to look like in the actual practice. We, I think, have a good picture as a committee about what ELA intervention and multi-language learner intervention is like. I don't have a good picture about math intervention, so If you can shed some light on that now, great. If this is a work in progress, that's also fine too.
So, thank you for the question. So I think, as we shared last meeting, I believe was the time that I shared the video from the Ferryway.
Yep.
And that certainly the Fairway is not the only school that's, I saw some math intervention at Linden this morning. I would say that, I wouldn't say that the literacy intervention is 100% figured out either. It's because this is the first year that we've attempted to do either of these things on such scale. But definitely there are schools and teams that have found a rhythm and found some success in being able to build intervention for math in addition to literacy into their schedule. And we're wanting to learn from those experiences like the ones from Fairway that we heard last time. And to make sure that the coordination between the math assistants that we have in the building and the teachers across content areas are such that support is also being received for math.
Okay.
One more?
One more,
This one?
actually,
Okay.
yes. I'd like to hear more about that as it rolls out. Last question, in terms of priority 2, accessing non-gen ed, basically. I wonder if there's a move for language acquisition in terms of a foreign language, world language, pardon me. So that all students can at least have the opportunity to be put on equal footing when it comes into when they come into the high school. Because my understanding right now is that students have varying levels of exposure and learning with their world language. So some students come and can test in and begin Spanish 2 as freshmen. Some folks don't quite pass the test. But then that also puts them in a position, they're tracked then and can only go so far. So I'm wondering if there's a plan specifically for language in terms of even a curriculum used at the 5 to 8 or anything like that at this point.
So I would say that thank you for the question. And doing a review of our current world language offerings, our performing arts, is what we're getting at with that. I think in the next year, it will be difficult to achieve that consistency that you're looking for. But certainly over the course of 5 years, that's what we'd like to achieve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Piazza?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One question on priority number 1. I'm noticing that the metrics are like whole at the grade levels. I'm wondering about subgroups underneath those. So for example, if a grade level as a whole makes a progress, but a subgroup of students, whether it's ELL students, multilingual learners, et cetera, aren't making progress, will we be attuned to that in measuring priority 1?
So yes, I believe in the actual draft document that wasn't trying to fit everything on a slide, that it does get to that nuance, that it's not just grade levels in aggregate, but also student groups.
Great. Priority number 2, 2 questions. I want to just restate this, that the graduation rate went from 74% to 52%?
No, that's incorrect.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
This is the percentage of students who matriculated to a 4 or 2-year college.
Oh, okay.
So our graduation rates were in the 80s.
Yeah.
But this is the percentage of students who, after 16 months, were their enrollment in a 4 or 2-year institution of higher learning was confirmed.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was clear on the record. Do we have a sense of why that number declined so dramatically?
Again, the rate for the state of Massachusetts in that same period went from 76% roughly to 66% roughly. Ours has just declined further, and so that's one of many things that we're going to be diving into.
Great. The last question, priority 2, K-8 students. I see language, performing arts, and sports opportunities. Very predictable comment from me. I'm wondering about literacy opportunities, and I'm thinking specifically about differential access to the public libraries in the K-8 schools. Libraries are obviously a valuable resource for student learning, for student reading comprehension and enjoyment of reading. And I'm wondering if it's possible, or if we thought about including library access as part of that third bullet point in priority Q.
Thank you for that question. We had not considered that. And again, I would say that if something's not listed explicitly in writing, doesn't mean that it's not being done or that it's not being considered, but would welcome more conversation about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spatafor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On priority one, we talk about the proposed metrics being MCAS, DIBELS, et cetera. How are we going to measure beyond those, specifically our special needs students in sub-separate classrooms, that they are receiving specifically designed instruction beyond the DIBELS and the standardized testing?
Right. Thank you for that question. And again, just because it's not listed explicitly here doesn't mean that we're not attentive to it or that we're not accountable for it. Each student's individualized education program and the services that are to be delivered is a contract that we make with that student and their family, and we're obligated to follow it. So I don't know that delivering services per se is the outcome that we're looking for, but certainly students' progress towards the goals that are established in their IEPs and percentage of students who are meeting those goals, I could see something along those lines. This is why we're presenting this as a draft, Member Spatafor, so that we can get that feedback. I think the challenge is having metrics, and again, to Mr. Piazza's point earlier, we do have the important consideration and attention to not just looking at a grade level as a whole, but looking at each group within that grade level, both by their race or ethnicity, but also by their disability status or by their status in terms of language proficiency. Those tend to encompass a large majority of our students, but then there are students who might not be taking those exams because they're on an alternate track, and we want to have a measure that doesn't leave them out, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right, Superintendent, let's do these next three priorities, okay? And pause for questions. I see that we have counsel here. You okay on time, Mr. Greenspan? Yes. All right, let's do this, and then we'll take questions, Superintendent. Let's get through that last section. We'll do questions and then move on to the rest of the agenda.
Very good. Thank you. So deep partnerships. 5 years out, families, caregivers, and the community receive consistent, transparent communication, participate in authentic engagement opportunities, and develop meaningful partnerships with schools, ultimately feeling increased levels of trust towards our district. Proposed metrics in this area relate to percentage of caregivers who are satisfied with their student's school and the district measured through caregiver surveys, an increased percentage of students who self-report a sense of belonging at school, making progress on our chronic absenteeism targets established by DESE in terms of our students' attendance, increasing the percentage of students transitioning from grade 8 to grade 9 who remain with the Malden Public Schools, and finally, increasing community understanding of preschool access options, including all of our partner schools through the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative. The strategies related to these, again, many of them will seem very familiar because these are things that we've talked a lot about over the last many months. But we talked about building durable structures for authentic family engagement and two-way input in decision-making, engaging families across schools to ensure students' successful transition to Malden High. Those attendance teams that Member Horty mentioned a few minutes ago, and making sure we have increased access to quality preschool education for all children. Not saying that we can provide that, but that we are in partnership with all of the preschool providers to make sure that quality options are available to all of our students.
Okay.
And then these are, again, just a sampling of the activities in year one. We spend time and engage with the leadership of our school councils, our district our PTO leaders, CPAC, LPAC, and other existing advisory bodies, and we want to assess what additional structures might elevate voices not currently being heard. We have an opportunity to partner with CPAC and community members to strengthen parent leadership through a DESE-sponsored program next year. We also want to review attendance improvement strategies from this past year and update our existing playbook to reflect those most effective strategies. Moving on to priority 4. The Malden Public Schools recruits, develops, and retains a diverse and talented team of educators and staff committed to a professional culture of growth, collaboration, and respect. We would see this through improved teacher retention rates, including those for educators of color, increase the percentage of teachers reporting that they receive valuable feedback on their practice, and increase the percentage of teachers reporting that professional development is helpful in improving their practice. We've seen good metrics, good results for this last year plus, and we'd like to see that continue to grow. For year one activities in this area, we want to continue to review our contracts for peer districts to ensure our compensation remains competitive and compelling. We want to sustain our early recruiting timeline to make sure that we're getting out into the marketplace early, especially for hard-to-fill positions, that our professional development calendars are aligned with our district priorities, and any gaps in mentoring supports, particularly those in those classrooms that are, in some cases, extremely challenging. We want to make sure those teachers have the support that they need. Lastly, Malden Public Schools manages its resources strategically and transparently, invests in the infrastructure that supports high-quality teaching and learning, and builds the partnerships and revenue streams needed to sustain and strengthen the district over time. This is all about financial and operational sustainability. That our annual budgets will have clear alignment with district priorities and meet state net school spending requirements. That we'll have fewer instances of unexpected facility issues requiring costly repairs. We've been doing pretty well with that. We want to keep that up. Increase effective use of available space, and develop additional revenue sources that strategically support district priorities. And on the strategies here, one thing is just expanding and diversifying revenue opportunities through partnerships with the city, state, and philanthropic entities. And the final slide here for this section is just the activities, a sample of activities in year one, to review strategic priorities and identify potential facility and infrastructure investment needs, and then identify opportunities for additional grants aligned with our strategic priorities. Not going after any old grant out there, but after those that are aligned with with our strategic priorities overall.
All right, let's do this. Questions from the team. We're going to start with Ms. Horty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Sippel, for priority 3 with partnerships, increase the enrollment for the high school transition from 8th to 9th grade, knowing that we're losing students there. Over this school year, there's been a lot of different discussion about it. Also, I think some of that discussion came in part as a part of the principal search process as well. I'm wondering, if anything, what might be different about that transition that's already in place, or what is the thinking going forward? I think that this should be really very top priority. I hear from a lot of the middle school aged student parents that they don't know enough about the high school, don't feel connected, their students don't go there, all of these things. And I know that in years past that as a parent, the transition for my students from 8th grade to 9th grade was a Zoom meeting with 2 administrators. No offense to them, but that did absolutely nothing for me as a parent in terms of providing information in any way. So if you have anything that you are already putting into place or any specifics regarding that, I'd love to know.
Okay, before you answer that, Superintendent, after Ms. Horty, we're going to go to you, Ms. Rose Iberg, and then over to Mr. Bernard. Superintendent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I heard some of the same comments that you're referencing during the principal search. One of the activities you'll notice for this priority has to do with identifying more opportunities to welcome elementary and middle school students and their families to the high school. Those opportunities certainly exist, but one to identify more of them and to support that engagement and that interaction. And then another activity identified in the plan is identifying opportunities for high school students to be more visible in our K-8 buildings as well, so that students begin to see themselves as a Malden High student and be able to see the desirability of that in a more consistent way. Through students working through service learning and through other opportunities as well. And I saw at Ferryway, I was just there on Thursday morning and saw one of our high school students working as a TA in conjunction with the class that she's taking. And she's very, very engaged, and the students love her. So there's precedent for this, and we want to expand on it. But I think going back to the other piece you were talking about, just that transition overall, there's a lot of hard work and a lot of thought that's gone into those transitions, and we just want to be able to take a step back and assess what's gone well and what are the opportunities to really strengthen it.
Thank you.
Ms. Rose Iberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My questions are about priority 3, and I would like to know how are we measuring the impact of the CPPI program?
So we have an annual report that we provide to the Department of Early Education, and so that is a report we can provide to the committee. Happy to do that. What a lot of it, could invite perhaps Assistant Superintendent McDonald briefly to speak to it?
Briefly.
Thank you.
So every year we do meet with Department of Early Education, and they review all of our stuff. We invite our partner districts to come talk as well. We have that at the end of every year in the spring. We usually host it somewhere in our schools, and they go through all of the requirements and what we're doing and what's working well. We have some incredible partners. It's a great program, and I think what we really, Andy, who is our grant coordinator for this, does a really nice job, and she's really looking to expand this. She partnered with CHA. Unfortunately, we didn't get that grant, but she was partnering with CHA to sort of get more grant funds on board for our preschool and our partnerships with other preschools. So this is, I think, sort of an untapped great resource for us, this partnership, as well as, anytime you can bring our kids together, most of them are going to end up with us anyways. So even, if they're at a different preschool, it's a great opportunity for us. And there are more funds and grants coming available because this is a priority of the governor, I think, at this point is, going towards universal preschool. So that money's starting to come out, and we're really looking to expand those programs.
So have you noticed any differences or done measures where children do you see anything with kids who have gone through a CPPI preschool and kids who were ones that were not?
It's interesting because all of the kids that are in the CPPI program, if they're at Cheverus, My Little Best Friends, Love Bugs, they all get a SACID then. They have to be assigned one in those schools. So we haven't delved into that, but I'm sure that with the help of our data specialist as well as Andy Wakefield, we could get some of that data. But I do think like we're working really hard. They use the same early literacy program that our kindergarten uses. So we're working really hard to have them use that as well so that they have a coherent experience as they come up to us.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two questions. One was mostly answered by Ms. Horty's question about the 8 to 9. I do want to go in and just, historically, we've seen a drop-off of students at grade 10. And I'm sure part of that is affected by kids coming into 9th grade, not having a great experience, and then possibly dropping out. Do we have and I haven't, to be perfectly honest, I haven't really dived into the numbers to see if that has been a continuing trend or not. And I plan on doing that. Do we have any plan in place if we go and we happen to go and see that drop again, or to try and get kids that may have gone through that initial period to try and get them re-engaged or get the families re-engaged?
So thank you for the question. So, I mean, the annual dropout rate and the annual graduation rate are both things that we pay attention to because they are included in our accountability measures, both for the high school but also for the district overall. That dropout rate is not as large as you might think. It is single digits. However, one is too many, right? The work that Assistant Superintendent McDonald has been leading in partnership with the educators at the high school around the RISE network is really about making sure that students are on track as 9th graders early on, and that at the first sign that there's an issue or a concern that they might not succeed that year, that there's an intervention early, so that because students who finish that 9th grade year successfully have a much stronger likelihood of graduating and a much stronger likelihood of persisting on to education beyond high school as well.
Thank you. And then just the other thing, again, back to the deep partnerships, you had mentioned possibly going and establishing other groups like CPAC, like LPAC. Has there been any thought on having certain groups that, I'm sure that the mayor can probably speak to, where we've had, some of the affinity groups that exist, maybe some of the student affinity groups that are after school, to maybe go and use those as kind of models, or maybe some place to go and reach out so that we go and we can maybe hear from, like the gentleman that came before us tonight, to go and maybe go and address something before it has to go and get brought to us, or at least going and being able to have an open conversation with them.
So I wasn't, I think in that the activity that's mentioned there and that strategy that's mentioned, it's not necessarily about establishing more advisory committees as much, although it could be that, but rather just to explore what other structures, whether it's listening sessions or whether it's a town hall meeting that's held in a community center, or other venues or focus groups, to make sure that we're giving more parents the opportunity to give input.
Yeah, and don't misunderstand me. I say affinity groups and I say, advisory, but listening groups, anything that kind of goes and falls into that realm, because I do think we've got a lot of groups that, first of all, they don't know who to go and address. And so as many times as I go and I put myself out on the doors or in public spaces, it's always better for, I think, all of us to kind of go and be willing to walk into spaces where we might be a little uncomfortable, and also to go and have those moments where we can go and get that trust building where someone can say, I have a problem, who do I talk to? Let me introduce you to the superintendent, or the mayor, or your city councilor, or let me see what I can do for you.
Okay. Very good. Just to wrap this up then, I want to invite you to continue giving me feedback, other questions and other ideas that, as you have a chance to review the draft document, we'll be having that draft document on our website for members of the community and caregivers to review also. We're planning a community gathering on the 19th of May, location to be announced soon, where community members will be able to have sessions where particular parts of the plan that they have interest in, they'll be able to give input and have discussion about that. And then we'll be refining the document based on your feedback and the feedback of others, so that we'll have a document for you to approve in June.
All right, let's finish this up. One more, right?
Yes, and I'm going to invite Assistant Superintendent Como-Basin up. She was dreading coming after all of that, I can assure you. So she has a brief presentation related to our competency determination progress.
Well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight, early in this meeting, to present an update on the assessments that we've developed towards Malden's competency determination policy. So this is a follow-up to our December meeting, where the committee passed a policy on this topic. And just for members of the public who might be watching who may need a quick refresher on the details of this policy, the quick headlines is that the state law says that in order to graduate from high school, students must attain a competency determination, and that requires two things. The first is that you have to pass certain classes, and then the second is you have to meet a definition of mastery in those classes, in math, English, US history, and science. And this definition of mastery was previously defined by the 10th grade MCAS. But as we know, with question 2, the public in Massachusetts voted that the 10th grade MCAS would no longer count for the definition of mastery in the competency determination. And so DESE let us know in the fall that as a district, like all other districts in the state, we would have to identify a new assessment to replace the 10th grade MCAS in defining mastery of content in English 10, US history, math 2, and science. And for most students in Malden, that's a biology test, but for it could be others. And for the student competency determination, this is a graduation requirement. So in December, the committee voted on a policy that gave the district some time, thank you, to develop and validate those assessments. And it prevented our current seniors from having their graduation requirements changed for the third time in their high school tenure. And so we said that for current high school seniors, their definition of mastery would come from passing those aforementioned courses. That was not the definition that DESE recommended, but we implemented this as a temporary measure to ensure that valid assessments could be developed, could be tested. And so the class of 2030, our current 8th grade students, would be the first class for which the new suite of assessments would take place. And they would take this when they are in 10th grade as part of their graduation requirements. So on the next slide, I can show you, we fleshed out what that looks like specifically. And so the best way to read this is, do you see where it says like school year 25-26 in that table? So if you look there and then read vertically downward, so using the color coding, right, in this school year, 25-26, that's this year, for each of the graduation classes, the definition of mastery is just that they pass the courses that I mentioned previously, Math 2, English 10, US history, and in most cases, biology. Now let's go to the next column, school year 26-27, that's next school year. For our juniors and seniors, again, it's whether they pass these courses when they were sophomores. But for our sophomores, again, still, it will be whether they pass the courses will count for their competency determination. But our sophomores next year will actually be the first class to pilot the new assessments. So again, they'll be held harmless on this, but this allows us a year to pilot these assessments with our students and to look at the data, specifically to look at the performance of specific student groups, to see what disproportionality might be there, to look at the performance of our students with disabilities, of our English learners, and to really just look at that to determine what adjustments we need to make either to our instruction or to the assessments to ensure that they're valid and truly giving students every opportunity to show what they know. So this was the timeline that we have worked on. And also in December, when the policy was passed, the districts committed to determining what assessments would be given, whether these assessments would be portfolios, whether they be cumulative exams, or the ever-popular other option as defined in the DESE policy. And we committed to returning in May to share these for the committee's approval. So it is May. On the next slide, you can see sort of the steps that we've taken towards being able to bring this something to you for a vote. And so this is an overview of our process, and I really want to thank Director Christina Scarlatos, who has led this work, a huge team of educators who have really contributed to this work, down to writing assessment questions, as well as Director Carmen Levesey and Program Manager Tanya McDonald, who have also done really meaningful work on ensuring that assessments will be accommodated appropriately for our students with disabilities and our multilingual learners. I also want to thank Directors Gerard Tanetta, Christina Balkaran, and Megan McCormick for support in content areas. So looking at this process, it was really important to us that there be a high degree of educator voice in the development of the assessments. Starting in the fall, we surveyed educators, in addition to getting family input, on the types of assessments by content area that they would recommend. Once the new policy was approved this winter by this committee, we put out a stipended role for educators to take the lead on developing these assessments in their content area. So these educators met regularly to sort of discuss the pros and cons of various types of assessments. They developed a criteria for success, which you can see here on this slide. That includes things like the first bullet are just the DESE guidelines, right? But also some district-specific best practices, such as including activities in the assessment that students are exposed to in the courses. So it's not the first time they're seeing those things. You can also see in the nice to have column, we include multiple measures to sort of avoid this idea of one test being this high stakes experience that you either pass or fail. So after developing this overview, an overview of each assessment at each content area aligned to this criteria for success, our educator team went back to their content area departments at the high school to get their colleagues, other educators' input. Then they revised that assessment overviews based on the educator input. They also put their proposals through rounds of peer feedback with content directors. So throughout this process, in addition, we had a team of educators working on accommodation guides for students who are multilingual learners and for students with disabilities. As you know, it's not as simple as saying, what is the accommodated assessment? There should not be one accommodated assessment. Accommodations need to be specific to the student's level of language acquisition or the specific notes in their IEP. And so what we created was an accommodation guide and specific resources, particular to the content areas, that will enable us to create accommodated assessments based on student needs. So on the next slide, you can see the proposals that are developed through this work. In English language arts, our proposal is for a portfolio and a reflection essay. This is timed unless a student has extra time in their IEP. In math, this is interesting. So we are legally required to assess the content that is assessed on the MCAS. And the MCAS assesses content in Math 1 and Math 2. And so we propose to use components of the midterm and final from both Math 1 and Math 2. This allows students multiple opportunities to meet the competency determination and an opportunity to recover later if they have, say, a rough fall freshman year. Science would be an end-of-course exam. We're proposing that. Most of our students take biology. However, a student does have the option per DESE's requirements to choose another course to take for their competency determination, whether that be physics, chemistry, the combination of intro to engineering and engineering for our community, engineering for our future, or creative design and engineering. And so due to the large number of courses, The idea of spanning multiple measures felt a bit logistically infeasible. So for that, we're proposing the end-of-course exam. And for US history, this is compiling multiple measures. Each quarter, students would take a document-based question. So this is when we really test their historical thinking skills by looking at, editorial cartoons, documents, for example, the Constitution, right? Looking at different documents collected from a time period and writing a historical essay in response to a prompt. So that would assess their historical thinking skills, and then in addition, we would take questions from the midterm and final exams to reflect their mastery of historical content, such as important events and their understanding of their significance. So this is our proposed set of assessments by content area. And then again, we've created an accommodations guide, which should help each student receive the accommodations that they need per their individualized education plan or their level of language acquisition. Again, I just want to be really clear that there's not a one-size-fits-all, like accommodated assessment that we would hand out. These need to be created based on the individual student needs. I also think, one of the features of most of these assessments is that we've tried to avoid one single high-stakes test in most cases. And so I think this also is a form of meeting individual student needs by giving students many opportunities, sort of at-bats, towards their competency determination and giving students sort of this cumulative opportunity to recoup points if they have a bad testing day. On the next slide, as you can see, just a lot of work has been done to develop these assessments. We're pleased to bring you these recommendations for your vote. And if approved by the committee, our next steps would be to finalize these assessments, to develop common scoring, rubrics and exemplars for our educators. We would roll these out with educators, giving them a preview of them this spring, communicating with families about next year's pilot, and then a lot of work next year to validate the assessments, to review student performance, and then to edit them before they go live as a high-stakes assessment. So the vote that we are requesting today is the assessment type, the committee's approval of the assessment type. So whether it be a portfolio, the final assessment, or that sort of compilation of multiple measures that we proposed on the previous slide.
Thank you. Questions from the team? Any questions? Ms. Spatafora, and then we'll go to Mr. Piazza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for clarifying what we're approving. Because I think my question, well, we'll get into it first. When you talk about I'm on the wrong page here in front of me, I'm sorry. Families in specific groups such as LPACs, school councils were also surveyed. Did we include CPAC?
We put outreach out to multiple groups. I think there was some scheduling challenges with all of them, but we're happy to come back and get more input as needed.
And then in regards to the high school educators that were a part of that, how many of them had a special ed background or came out of sub-separate classrooms?
So I'm happy to get those specific numbers for you. This was a big sort of focus for the work, and Program Manager Tanya McDonald was actively involved in the process as well.
Wonderful. I did notice a few things, and we talk about accommodations and modifications, and looking at other policies for surrounding districts, they do speak to alternate methods for demonstrating mastery, specific for students that are on an IEP or 504. I wasn't sure, are we just sticking with modifications, or are we able to, based on the student's IEP, be able to have an alternate assessment?
So everything should be based on the student's IEP, and the foundation of our accommodation guide is, again, there's not a one-size-fits-all accommodated assessment. So if a student's IEP sort of spoke to the need for them to present something verbally, that would be an acceptable accommodation per their IEP, but not all students might need that. And so I just want to be really clear that the guide for how these assessments will be accommodated will be following what's written into the individualized education plan based on the need of the student. Because what one student might need, another student might not. And so I wouldn't want to sort of suggest that all students would be explaining something verbally rather than in writing. That would be based on what is written there.
I think I just wanted it to be clear in what was given to us, the CD assessment memo. Specifically to students with disabilities, it says students with disabilities will only have their testing accommodations apply to testing within the student's academic areas impacted by the student's disability. So does that mean it will only be based on what they're receiving in their B grid? Because there's a lot of students that don't have academic disabilities, however, they have maybe anxiety, depression, that does affect testing. So they might not have, and Ms. McDonald is behind you going, wait, I have an answer for you.
So I think what they mean by that is that there are certain students who may have a reading disability, and their IEP would outline during tests that require it, these are their accommodations. A child that has a more anxiety where the disability goes across academic domains, their IEP would specify that. So I think the bottom line is, it is whatever their IEP says is where they would get those accommodations and modifications.
Okay.
I think it's the old PLEP A and B, which is no longer with the new IEP.
I'm still going by, old school here.
Yeah.
But that makes complete sense. And then I just wanted, for clarification purposes, students that are out of district, they still belong to Malden Public Schools, and they should be following our competency determination requirements, correct? And do we have that?
So students that are out of district, they have a choice if they want to.
You just speak into the microphone.
Students that are out of district generally have a choice. They can receive their diploma or their certificate of completion from the school that they're attending, or they can apply to also have a Malden High graduation and diploma. And I think that is all very much under review right now legally between DESE and what DESE is putting out, and we're waiting for some more guidance with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Over to Mr. Piazza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Westing, can you go back to the proposed assessments by content area, the slide? There we go, especially since this will be the focal point of our vote. I want to hear more about the decision to include or not include performance-based assessments as part of the menu here. Just by way of background, this is something that I've spent a good deal of my professional career working on, developing performance-based assessments that are aligned to Massachusetts state standards and supporting teachers in the implementation of those. So I see something related to performance-based assessments in ELA, great. But when I look at math, science, and US history, I see more traditional exam and less room, especially in math and science, but also in US history, less room for something performance-based. Even in US history, it's an individual writing assignment and then an exam. So I wonder about, I'd love to hear more about the decision or the conversations about the inclusion of performance-based assessment in the team that was developed to bring these recommendations to us. So that's mainly my question here. The reason I bring it up is that the research does indicate that, right, that performance-based assessments are accurate ways, and in some cases more accurate ways, of measuring what students know and can do, especially for English language learners, which is of course a high population in our district. Also, the state has worked in some, and organizations have worked to develop performance-based assessments that are aligned to standards in math, science, and US history. So there are existing resources out there for us. And so anyway, this is, again, given that it's a professional interest of mine, I'm also interested to hear how it played out for you all in that, in the decision-making process.
Absolutely, and I think I agree with you on the research on this, and I think there are some really promising methods that are arising. I think a couple things like really governed our decision-making, and first and foremost, desire to be able to roll out something within our district that was fair and valid, and that we could feasibly roll out in the time that we have. Realistically, what we've heard from the state is whatever policy we put in place is likely to be in place for only a few years before the statewide graduation council's recommendations come in, which we have heard signals that these may also include some performance-based assessments. And so, with these assessments really needing to be developed this spring, the place where we thought, just to give you a preview, science might actually be a place where, could it be a lab practicum? Could this be something that we could roll out? However, with science, there is this requirement, with all of these, the requirement that we cover the content that is covered on the 2023 MCAS. And so, in trying to develop a lab-based performance assessment for biology, chemistry, physics, intro to engineering, all of these different content areas that are equally valid and reliable measures of mastery across all of these different subject areas. We sort of ran into questions about what skills were being assessed and are these actually the same skills assessed on the 2023 MCAS. And so I think it's I'm happy to speak more about it. Ultimately, we went to really trying to develop questions that we felt could be fairly applied across content areas, within our content areas, and give students sort of allow us to really calibrate among educators to make sure that, with 15 teachers in the math department, we were all scoring in the same way starting next year.
I have a quick follow-up question. When we say that we're required to measure the same content as what was on the MCAS, if I rephrase that question as we're required, or rephrase that statement as we're required to measure the same learning standards, like state standards, as what's measured on the MCAS, does that change at all the meaning of that sentence? Does that make sense? Like when you say content, do you mean state standards?
Yes, I'd have to make sure I get you the language of the guidance that DESE's put out.
Yeah.
So I don't want to put words in the Department of Education's mouth. But our understanding is that these have to be comparable to the 2023 MCAS.
Right, okay, yeah. I just wanted to make sure if we were talking about the standards or the specific content that's on the MCAS, right?
It's the assessed content. So
The assessed
for
content.
that reason, we were sort of thinking about Math 1 and Math 2 are both assessed in different proportions. And so, there's sort of a guide that says the percentage. So when we are creating these assessments, we actually match up, okay, this is the percent that is, geometry standards, and this is the percent that is systems of equations, so that we could make it comparable to the 2023 MCAS.
Super helpful, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rose Iberg?
On the English language arts assessment with the portfolio and time reflection essay with the portfolio, how often would it be assessed?
So that's a great question, thank you. The portfolio would pull work from the entire year. And so we're working to align that with the fish tank curriculum that we recently adopted. And so students would be selecting essays or components of work from the entire year, and then would have opportunities to reflect on them, sort of to say, in this essay, this is how I performed, I would revise it in this way, or this is how I've grown as a writer in this over the course of this year. So with this knowledge that I have now, I would reflect on this essay differently. So it's a year-long endeavor.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, everyone, home stretch. So why don't you stay here? We're going to take this competency determination policy recommendation up. Ms. Rose Iberg, what is your recommendation?
Recommendation to approve the presentation, the proposed assessments under IKF.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bernard. Any other questions, everyone? Any questions? Let's call the roll.
Mr. Drummy? Yes. Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
No.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rose Iberg? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. Not unanimously. What was the vote?
I guess 1-8.
Huh?
1-8.
8-1. All right, everyone, let's keep it going. Let's stay with you, Ms. Rose Iberg. Let's talk about policy DD, funding proposals and applications.
we're going to do motions, we're skipping subcommittee reports?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to cover this through the motions, right?
It is, we just did, yes. So policy DD. Policy DD has been the funding proposals and applications is our current policy. And under that, one of the parts was that all applications for grants has to come before us before submitting to the awarding authority. So the motion is to adopt the proposed policy. Everybody got DD, grants, proposals, and special projects, which would amend the current language so that requirement doesn't go, it no longer exists. This is a sample policy that is provided by MASC, in part, obviously, because just when there are grants and things that come up, sometimes the turnaround time is really quick. We would not actually have the time to call a whole meeting to have us just approve even just the submission of that grant application. MGL, it does have Chapter 44, Section 53A does spell out that we do accept grants once we receive them. That part would stay in place. So this would basically be changing it that we do not have to give permission for them to apply for grants if we accept the proposal. So the motion is to adopt proposed amendment to DD, policy DD.
Second by Mr. Drummy. Superintendent, is this good with you and your team?
We welcome it.
Okay. Madam Clerk, let's call the roll.
Mr. Drummy?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Mr. Rose Iberg? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. All right, Ms. Rose Iberg, one more, it looks like, and then there'll be a joint one.
Thank you. This would be a motion to follow, we actually have the current procedure which is in place, would be to be following policy DI until further review of policy DGA. So what ended up coming, this has to do with the signing of warrants. We had started talking about this in prior committee meetings. We have two policies and they conflict. Policy DGA, authorized signatures, says if a warrant submitted for payment must be signed as approved by a majority of the school committee. In meeting, we did find out that this actually had been the policy. It had been the procedure. Mr. Drummy had said, yep, they would be laid out and you'd have to come and sign all of them. I keep forgetting the correct name of it, the Municipal Modernization Act. Tried to streamline things because obviously that can be cumbersome to have that many people come through. We could not really find, we started looking and trying to find the actual policy change with dates and things, looked through minutes, couldn't find it. I did find, though, policy DI, Controller of Accounts, and the line in that says all warrants drawn by the Controller of Accounts for the payments of monies from the Treasury shall only be valid when countersigned and approved by the mayor. So the motion that we, in subcommittee, we did decide to, we want to continue looking at DGA and looking at this issue, but for now the motion was to follow the current procedure of the mayor signing the warrants as supported by policy DI until further review of policy DGA.
Okay, what was the vote of the committee?
That's what we had, yeah, that's what we all recommended.
What was the vote of the committee? What was the vote? Unanimous?
Unanimous,
Of the committee? Okay.
yeah.
Soup?
Mr. Bernard was not there, but yeah, that was
Okay.
unanimous.
Soup, you and your team?
This also very, very workable. Thank you.
Motion by Ms. Rose Iberg, seconded by Ms. Horty. Any questions, everyone? Any questions?
I have a quick question.
Oh, we'll see about that, Mr. Jones.
It's a 17-part question. What will happen to DGA under the motion that we're about to consider? Will any language be changed in DGA? Will DGA simply go back to the policy committee for further review?
Ms. Rose Iberg?
Yep, DGA is actually tabled, so we do plan on revisiting it. Our goal that I was going to bring up in the report from the subcommittee, we are extremely hopeful and recommending that all of our policy manual gets reviewed with MASC, the outside agency that can come in and go through. And our recommendation when we do that would be that we start with our financial section. I did speak to MASC, and that is, you can jump around, you can decide and prioritize which sections of the manual you think need to get the most attention. I think this one definitely is top priority, I know for me, to get these all squared away, make sure that all the references stand up. Sometimes when you look at some of the old ones, I believe that different, like the MGLs have changed. It needs to be updated. So yes, it would be continued and looking at the sample policy, seeing what other ones are doing. And basically they work that, they will take a look at it. I did ask, they will look at your charter, they will look at other things to see, and then they will come back with recommendations, and then we would vote on whatever their recommendations are. So DGA is not sitting there with nothing to be done. We will obviously be looping back, because it has to be.
But for now, we're simply voting on whether DI takes precedence over DGA.
Right.
Got it.
DI, which is, and that is actually what we have been doing. It does not change that they would be still included on the agenda, that the warrants, that we would still be looking at them. And part of the discussion with having, with signatures and things like that, part of the discussion was just having a second set of eyes, because when someone is, making a vote for you, was part of the discussion. So we want to see how other cities are doing it, and also see what recommendations there are from, if we, hopefully, get the entire manual reviewed.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Drummy?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Mr. Roziberg? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. All right, everyone, this resolution in support of a financial management review, I don't think anything needs to be said further about it. This is an item that was discussed at our last meeting. We just need to formally vote it at this meeting. So this is Ms. Roziberg, Ms. Spatafora. Maybe not.
Thank you. So I just want to thank you, Chair, because I think it was the next morning after our meeting, you emailed Ms. Roziberg, myself, I think Council President Linehan, saying that the request had gone through to the Financial Management Division of Local Services, and that they had agreed to do it come the fall. So I thank you for that follow-up the next day. I think we did go through it at the last meeting, so I don't think there's a need to reread through it.
Nope.
So I'd just like to make a motion that we adopt the resolution in support of a financial management review of the City of Malden.
Seconded by Ms. Roziberg. Any questions, queries, qualms? Let's call the roll.
Mr. Drummy?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Mr. Roziberg? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. All right, Mr. Bernard, Technology Subcommittee, really brief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will keep it brief. We met last Wednesday. This was an informational meeting just to go and get the other members of the Tech Subcommittee on the same track, because I'd been running as the liaison for the working group. Basically just went over what we had already been doing at the meeting, at the working group meetings, to give them an idea. There's not going to be any recommendations until the last meeting, which is of the group at, which is May 11th, I believe. And we will go and hold a meeting after that. We also went over, and I was hoping some of the people in the audience would still be there, so hopefully they're watching on TV, that we went over another tool that we were going to be going and using, GoGuardian, or we're piloting right now, to go and take control over what students can go in. Number one, watch or what they're doing with their Chromebooks, just to make sure the teachers are aware. And the report from the superintendent and Assistant Superintendent Kamal was that the teachers were very excited about this. Were climbing over themselves to go and volunteer to go and do this.
Yeah.
Obviously, they see it as a great advantage. And sometime in the future, we'll be going and looking in that and getting some responses. And that's it.
Okay. Mr. Bernard, if I might from the chair, could you look into what it would cost if it were successful and we wanted to implement it throughout the district?
Yeah.
Because, as you know right now. All right, thank you, Mr. Bernard. No other questions. Let's move to personal privilege, left to right. Mr. Drummy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Class pictures are tomorrow at the Ferryway. Fourth grade field trip is coming up on Thursday. Walk, which we saw earlier, walk, bike, and roll, is coming up on Wednesday. There are two rally points. One is Lincoln Commons, and the other is 72 Ashland Street, which sounds really, really familiar. Tuesday is the PTO meeting and the SSO meeting, and that'll be on Zoom. Go to the Ferryway School PTO webpage for the connection, or the link, I should say. There is a middle school dance coming up on the 15th, which is a Friday. Next on the 15th also, it's Ice Cream Fridays are coming back at the Ferryway for those of you that get hungry. It's $1 or $2 an ice cream, and it will be in the courtyard section of the school. And there's an after-school, a short one, 20 minutes give or take, an after-school musical theater on the 21st as well. 8th grade field trip on June 1st. And last but not least, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And if you're looking for a cheap breakfast on Mother's Day, Ward 1, thanks to Councilor Peg Crow, is going to have the annual Mother's Day breakfast at Anthony's from 9 to 11. So I hope to see everybody there. Hopefully, maybe, possibly. We'll see. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And will the raffle of the day be repeated?
If it was, I haven't heard anything. She hasn't mentioned it, but it could be. It very well could be.
All right.
Are you going to be there? And then it will be there.
All right, Mr. Drummy, thank you very much. Let's see, Mr. Piazza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Friday, May 1st, was Principal Appreciation Day, so I just want to recognize all of the principals across Malden Public Schools for the outstanding work. Yeah, we can give a round of applause to them. All the principals are fantastic. I have the closest relationship with the principal at my kids' school, Principal Van, and I just want to briefly highlight how valuable she is as a resource to our school. When I am meeting with her, she is detailed and thoughtful about everything that she does. When there is a long line getting into a school event, she will put on the shark costume and go out there and entertain the students who are waiting to get into that event. There is nothing she will not do for the students of Malden. So I just want to appreciate, again, all of the principals, especially the one that I know most, that I know best. Also, it's Staff Appreciation Week, and speaking of Miss Van, she sent this message. We'd like to thank all of our staff, teachers, ESPs, nurses, custodians, administrative staff, and support staff for all they do for each and every day for our students, each other, and our Salem Wood community. Another round of applause is warranted. They will be celebrating everyone this week with sweet and salty treats, breakfast, and a lunch each day of the week. My last note is that on Saturday, May 9th, it's the Salem Wood Walkathon, and so there is still time both to sign up your child for the Salem Wood Walkathon and to raise money. You'll get an online link that you can send out to your family members, and they can donate to the walkathon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, let's go to Ms. Spatafora.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Budget Subcommittee, I did not have an update on the docket, but we will be meeting on May 14th and May 20th, both at 6:30 p.m. to go through our FY 2027 budget. You can join me this Wednesday at 7:40 a.m. right here at City Hall to walk to BB for the Walk, Bike, and Roll to School Day. May 8th. I don't know if anybody remembers Mr. MHS. It's kind of coming back, but it's going to be Senior Spotlight. May 8th at 7 p.m. in Jenkins Auditorium. Come cheer on our cheer, laugh, I don't know, the seniors for a talent show. May 28th, prom red carpet. Be at Malden High School at 4 p.m. to see these amazing seniors off. Special Olympics, I believe I have it on here, Ms. McDonald, May 21st. It's a Friday. So if you're driving past, what's that? Thursday. But if you're driving past the stadium, you can see all of our amazing special needs students competing. And then just a congrats to Malden High baseball today on another win tonight against our rivals, Malden High School, with a final score of 7-4. Thank you.
Ms. Horty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Forestdale is holding a PTO sensory night this Friday, May 8th, from 5:30 to 7:30 in the cafeteria. They will be making bubble dough. I don't know what that is, but it sounds interesting. Spring Picture Day is next Monday, May 11th. The 7th grade is hosting a trivia night for families on Wednesday, May 13th from 6 to 8 in the cafeteria. For more information, see Mr. Weldai's message on Parent Square. I have to say that the 7th grade does an amazing job with fundraising for Nature's Classroom and DC and all that stuff, so please attend if you can. And finally, Mr. Weldai, who also must be recognized for Principals Week because he has a special place in a lot of our hearts for all the things that he does for his Forestdale students. But he would like to shout out his amazing staff for Educator Appreciation Week as well. Thanks.
Okay, next up, Ms. Rose Iberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to give my own thanks to all of the educators and teachers in all of our schools. I know that the work that they all do is amazing, and they need a lot of support, and so never underestimate even sending in a small note or anything like that to your teachers and your ESPs. I know I got a little one today from a student that is proudly already on my refrigerator. They do mean a lot, just those little, when you're having a rough day, sometimes you just take a look and go, okay, I've actually touched a life today. That's a mentor of mine had said, just remember, you can touch a life today. So thank you for all of the teachers in our system who do that on a daily basis. At the Linden, there is a cookie class on Saturday, May 9th from 1 to 3. It's a $10 cost for 3 cookies. The sign up for that is tomorrow. Hardcore has to be done by tomorrow because they have to order supplies. I was asked to stress that, so they don't want people to show up and they have to feel bad and say, no, you can't come. So I was asked to stress that. Popsicle and ice cream carts after school on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays will be starting up. Those will be $2 per item. On May 6th, walk, bike, roll to school. They meet at Steve's Corner and at Eddie's Garage at 7:35 a.m. May 15th, from 6 to 8, is the multicultural celebration. May 19th, and there'll be more details coming up on this, will be the Linden curates the Art STEM Showcase. So they're waiting to get some confirmation from the art teacher and all, so that everything will be displayed at the school. But the details, they think roughly it's 4 to 5:30, May 19th for that. May 29th is movie night for grades K to 4. That'll be from 3 to 5 p.m. Details coming on that. On Saturday, May 30th, this sounds like a very fun event. I know they've done it before. Foam and tie-dye party from 1:30 to 3:30. So you tie-dye a shirt for field day, and that is $10. You do need to bring the shirt. So they do some tie-dye, and then you go and have the foam party and dance in that, and then there's going to be opportunity at the end of that also for some more tie-dye. Because it's also there's the Teacher Appreciation Week, they tied it in with Spirit Week. On Wednesday, students can wear neon. They said the brighter the better. And on Friday, it is a 90s theme. However you take that, dress is just what happened in the 90s. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Drummy is attempting to speak for a second time, and I will grant that so long as he makes the motion for executive session. You willing to do that? I will do that. Okay, then here you go.
Thank you. I just forgot, International Food Night is coming up, and that'll be Thursday, the 14th, down at the Fairway from 6 to 7:30. And I'd like to make a motion to go to executive session.
Okay, seconded by
And that
Mr.
was a
Bernard.
quickie.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin? Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Piazza?
Yeah.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Mr. Ozaiberg? Mayor Christensen.
Yes, that carries unanimously. School committee will now be in executive session. Yeah, all right. What were you looking for? Is that it? All right, the school committee is back. We have a motion to stay the night. Mr. Drummy? Motion to adjourn? By Mr. Bernard. You have that? All right. All those in favor say aye. Say nay. The ayes have it. School committee is hereby adjourned.